Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
Foot out joke food. 100 racks on a surf dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out.
Hey everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast, where we chat with surfers from all around the world, from all walks of life, and we get their story. Find us at www.thequivercast.com. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. All right. Today, everybody, we have a Scottish national champ, Mark Boyd. How you doing, Mark?
I'm very good, thank you, Mike. How are you?
Oh, excellent, excellent. Weather's kind of nice. It's turning into a different season. How's the season up by your house? Is it starting to get cold?
It's yeah, it has. Just in the last couple of weeks, really, or even in the last week, it's definitely turned. It's definitely autumn, and it's raining a lot here just now, and it's got much colder. But there's some waves coming. Unfortunately, I'm at work at the moment for the next week or so, but the boys are getting some waves at home, and hopefully there'll be some left when I get back.
Okay, so I got to ask you about that. You're from Scotland. It's kind of a more hardcore surfing environment than maybe the majority of the world, really. I mean, everyone has their elements, but you guys just seem to have a little more cold, a little more rocky coast, a little more, probably more sea life than a lot of the people around.
Yeah, definitely. It's not the friendliest place to be a surfer in terms of the weather. We get a lot of harsh elements, a lot of wind, and quite a bit of snow every winter. And it's pretty cold, and probably not as developed a surf scene as you get in a lot of other places, but we get some fun waves, and we make the most of it.
Okay, so what I see of the waves of Scotland are you get excellent waves with very minimum crowd.
Yeah, we definitely do on their day. But I mean, contrary to popular belief, possibly it does actually get quite busy.
Really?
Where I live in Thurso, yeah, it's a pretty famous wave now. I mean, we used to have a 6-star WQS there, and I mean, people travel for that wave, so it gets fairly busy. It's not always that easy to go and get a bunch of waves out there, but it's and there's a few spots about and some fun slabs that can be a bit quieter. So no, it's good. And
then, how do you say that break correctly? Because I know I'm going to say it, slaughter the name.
Thurso East is the name of the wave that I surf the most. Where I live, and we used to have the QS there. And
I remember.
We've had the European Championships there back in the 80s, and a few other comps. So,
how did you get into surfing?
I got into surfing I grew up like on the Moray Firth coast of Scotland, so like down kind of along the coast from east of Inverness, and just used to do a bit of skateboarding and snowboarding, and used to go through a town called Elgin and kind of go skating on the streets there, because there wasn't really any skate parks back then. When we were kids, and used to go skating because I lived in the countryside near the beach, and there wasn't any tarmac to go skating on. So we used to take the bus through Elgin and hung out there, and hung out in the skate shop. And the skate shop was owned by a guy called Mike McWatt, and he kind of just put me on. I mean, it was a skate, surf, snowboard shop, so he kind of just put me onto the fact that I was living at one of the good beaches in the area, and suggested I tried surfing, really, and that was kind of it. Got Mike to thank for getting into surfing.
What did your parents think?
I don't even really think they knew what I was doing at the beach, to be honest. It's really funny, like seeing, like I do a bit of work with the Scottish Surfing Federation, and we run some junior contests.
Yes.
I mean, seeing like all the parents these days and how they're like kind of pushing their kids into surfing and supporting them and driving them around everywhere. And
yes.
I'm not like, my parents were great as well, but just in a different way, I guess. There definitely wasn't that kind of taking that kind of interest in what you were doing. It was just I was kind of left to my own devices, and I would just walk down to the beach in the cold and chuck my stuff in a bag in a phone box. And, you know, my grandmother was really good at the time. She'd come sometimes and pick me up and drop me off. And I'd, you know, it was before phones, and I'd, you know, keep some change in my pocket so I could call her on the phone box, or I'd have to walk up the road. It wasn't that far a walk, but as a kid, you know, I was like 13-ish probably when I started surfing.
Okay.
I'm 36 now, so it's going back a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was kind of different back then. There wasn't like a contest scene like there is for the kids now, and there was very little going on in that respect at the time. So it was a bit of a slow learning curve as well for me. I mean, got a surfboard, it was probably way too short for me to start with. And I just didn't have a clue, you know. I kind of had terrible equipment, terrible wetsuits.
Yeah.
Just trying to learn in the summer by myself in the whitewater and a board that wasn't suitable. And I ended up just borrowing people's longboards. Kind of sometimes you'd get the odd surfer at a weekend, and I remember asking people just to have a shot on their board just so I could try and learn to stand up.
So there was no one else in the lineup? Let's say a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, like weekdays where I grew up, there wasn't anyone at the time, really.
No way.
Sometimes after work, you get the odd kind of person would come through from Elgin, or you'd see the odd person at the weekend. But you used to get a lot of goat boaters back then. There was quite a few, like wave kayak guys.
Yes.
So you'd see quite a few of them at the weekend sometimes, and I'd be quite often the only surfer. And then there was a couple of guys actually moved into the village where I grew up around about the time I was learning as well. So they'd be there sometimes, but that was kind of it really. But I mean, they'd have work during the week. And,
First off, how did you even know how to surf? Were you watching surf videos? Like, I mean, the concept's there. You got a board, you stand up, but like, how do you progress?
I actually remember, it's funny you bring that up, because I remember buying a VHS with, I think it was Timmy. It was like a Timmy Curren.
Okay.
A Timmy Curren, like, instructional, like, progressive surfing video.
Okay.
And I think that was probably pretty helpful at the time. But other than that, it was just like I'd go into ESP, the surf shop, and buy whatever VHS they had. I probably learned a few things off Endless Summer 2 video and a few other classics. I think a documentary, and I'm trying to think what other ones I had. But a few kind of old classics, Wandy Irons, and maybe like Mick Fanning and stuff. They were kind of like Mick Fanning. I think they had that 3 Degrees.
Okay.
I think that was maybe DVDs by then, you know, when it was Mick Fanning, Dingo, and Parko, and that video. I remember watching that one a lot, but I think that was kind of DVD era by then. But definitely had a few on VHS.
Did you love surfing, or why? What motivated you to get out there besides at the skate shop? The guys saying you had good waves, like.
Just kind of. I still remember getting my first green wave. It was actually, it's a bit of a funny story. So one of the guys who moved into the village, John Gardner, I borrowed his, and like all these years later, I should feel like apologising to him again in case he hears this, but I borrowed a mini mal off him, or like some sort of thicker board off him anyway.
Yes.
And I remember just getting like my first proper green wave where I kind of pumped along, and it was a right-hander going in towards the rocks, and I probably just got a bit excited and stayed on the wave too long basically and ripped the fin box out. And obviously at the time I'm just kind of a kid and didn't really have the means to repair it for him or whatever, so I feel pretty bad about that to this day actually. So John, if you're listening, I'll get you a dram.
You had this passion for something that there was no other groms around, no adults to like supervise you. You're on your own. Pretty
much. There was the couple of guys I mentioned, they would be out there more often than anyone else.
Okay.
And apart from them, I mean, I would quite often get my grandmother to sit in the car. Like, used to get quite a lot of stormy kind of like. And this is when I'm just learning what is kind of surfable, what's not surfable. Like I didn't really know at the time, you know. So
100%.
I used to get my grandmother to sit in the car because I was kind of scared to go out, and I'd be surfing in like proper like gale force onshore, just like mush, goodness. And not really knowing that that's not good conditions at the time,
right?
And I don't know what my grandmother was supposed to do. There was no mobile phones then, or
What is she gonna do? Was she thinking like? And did she warn you like? this may not be good conditions, Mark? Or she had no clue?
No, not at all. I mean, I guess she was just going with my knowledge. So, but I guess she was. I suppose she was sensing my apprehension about going out because I was asking her to wait. So. But yeah, she was pretty good, my granny. And she
that's
she
great.
ran me about. But yeah, as far as kids, I mean, there was no other surfers at my school. I was the only surfer, and it was a pretty big school. I went to a tiny little primary school, but I didn't start surfing until high school. And it was a bit of a shock actually. I went from a primary school with 19 kids to like a high school, probably I don't know, closer to 2,000 kids or something. So it was a pretty big shock going to the biggest school from just a little country boy from a tiny little primary school. But there wasn't a single other surfer. It was a coastal high school, but there was no other surfers at school. So it was kind of lonely, I guess.
Okay, a couple questions on that is, were you telling everyone you're a surfer?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, I'd friends
kind of
who
brag.
I'd skateboard with, and they'd kind of probably think it was kind of cool, but I mean, it was kind of like people didn't really know what it was, I suppose, then.
Yeah.
Or it was just kind of weird. Like everyone just played football in my school, and I played football when I was younger as well. And then surfing kind of took over and gave everything else up. Really, I played a bit of golf and football, and kind of everything else.
Okay.
Took a back seat apart from skating and snowboarding a little bit as well.
On some of these excursions out in the water, let's say you're getting a little older, you're getting a little more confident. Did you ever get yourself in any like sticky situations where it's like bigger than you thought, or is it a little heavier than you thought?
I suppose so. Just the kind of usual ones that people get themselves into, I guess, as they progress. You just start testing your limits, and figuring out where they are. But I mean, I started spending a lot of time where I live now in Thurso, which is up the road. So I mean, yeah, I've kind of started making trips up there quite regularly not long after I started surfing. And yeah, I suppose that's kind of where I earned my stripes, I guess, just surfing the reef breaks up there, and just probably got into a few hairy situations when I was learning.
Now that you're surfing elsewhere, not at the home break that you normally surf at, is there other surfers at this point, or still by yourself?
I mean, Thurso was a bit more popular, than the coast that I learned to surf on. So there would always be a few surfers up there. Definitely got busier these days, Post QS, it got a bit busier, but back then it was quite a bit quieter than it is now. But there was always surfers around.
At what point does surfing start catching on in the country of Scotland? And are you getting English surfers too? So do you guys divide yourselves as two different countries, even though you're the kind of UK?
I suppose the UK is the sovereign state.
Yeah.
Scotland's whether there's different political beliefs. I guess.
Right.
And in Scotland, a lot of people don't want that to be the case, and some maybe do.
Okay.
It's a bit of a divide in the country, really, as to what people want. At present, Scotland's a country within the United Kingdom, but I mean, in surfing terms, we compete. Or we competed at the World Champs and the European Champs. The Olympics has kind of changed things because you compete as GB at the Olympics. So, yeah, it's a pretty complicated place, really, the UK.
Yeah.
With, it's like the US is kind of a country with states inside it.
Yes.
The UK is kind of like a state with countries inside it. So it's a bit of...
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of the opposite when people are used to, I suppose.
Because you guys are on a big island. Are you going to England to surf and stuff?
Nah, not really. I mean, it's kind of too far of a drive from where I live. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mission. You're almost easier going abroad and
oh, really?
Driving to the airport and flying abroad. Yeah, it's a pretty long way. Like from Thurso, you're quite a long drive. You're 7-8 hours to. So
you'd rather just jump on a plane?
On Google Maps in front of it. You're just to get to the north of England, So if you want to go down to Cornwall and stuff, you're like 15 hours door to door almost.
Oh wow!
To get down to where the waves are. So, I mean, later in life, I've surfed down there a bit and competed down there a bit, and kind of the east coast of England a little bit as well. But no, I mean, I just started traveling, I suppose, around Scotland a little bit surfing.
Okay.
Mostly in the north, I've never really ventured too far, like the Western Isles a little bit, like Lewis, which is kind of pretty far north, and around kind of Sutherland and Caithness and Murray and Aberdeenshire. I studied in Aberdeen University for a few years, so that kind of put me on to some of the breaks on the East Coast a little bit.
Okay.
Out of the North Sea. So we used to, I kind of met in with some good friends there that were pretty keen surfers as well. So we used to, we were doing trips up to Thurso quite a lot as well when we were at uni. It's a bit of a drive from Aberdeen, but you could do it in a day there and back if you had to, if there was a couple of you, in winter, because we've got short daylight hours. So
yes,
we would bomb up for swells and we'd get surf on the East Coast when we could. And then up, like where I grew up is kind of somewhere in the middle. So yeah, between those 3 bits of coastline, would surf there a lot, and yeah, it's cool. So I know that kind of area like the back of my hand, really. I've got pretty wired from the north coast to Aberdeen coast.
Do you think there's still a lot of spots to be discovered?
To be honest, the roads and that bit of Scotland anyway, a lot of it goes along the coast, so there's not really that much that's hidden.
Okay.
There's definitely little things that I'm learning, like about some of the breaks I surf a lot, where you start to realise, maybe I'd prefer it on this tide a little bit. And there's something a little bit different. And I guess as your surfing changes as well, and your ability,
Yes.
Your ability gets a bit better. You start to look at things a little bit differently. But no, there's been no major discoveries of late that, that I'm aware of anyway. But it's a funny one in Scotland as well, because we get, like, in winter we get such short daylight hours, like
6 hours or something.
Got from you've got from like 9 till 3, like a little bit either side, but when it's pumping at that time of year, you don't really have much time to waste. And
exactly.
There's definitely places you could be like having a little bit of a scout around, but yeah, it's difficult to waste days like that and kind of get stuck in your ways a little bit, surfing the same breaks possibly. But
if they're good though, right? If you're good,
yeah, for sure. It's getting a lot more crowded these days where I live, so like it's kind of cool, and obviously crowds aren't a great thing, but it's just in a sense it kind of makes me surf some of the slabs a little bit more, because it's kind of nice just to get away from the crowd a little bit sometimes. So it kind of pushes you in that respect. It's kind of good.
Do you know the history of Scottish surfing?
A little bit. I hope this isn't a test, because I'll get
I don't know it, so I'm curious. This is a question. Like, how did the first person start surfing? How did he get noticed?
So there's a story, and I'm gonna there was Andy Bennett would be able to fill in all the dots for me. He wrote some bits on some of the history and stuff. But I think they had a board that got up from Cornwall, and there was a few of them sharing this surfboard, and they left it in the toilet block at Aberdeen Beach and go down in the summer and try and get a few waves in their shorts or bits of neoprene that you get a hold of. And I wouldn't want to hazard a guess on what the date was, but I think it was like late 60s or something.
Okay, cool. And you started...
no, it must have been early 2000s.
Early 2000. For those 40 years, it was basically wide open. That's insane. All these years.
Yeah, I don't know what the quality of wetsuits were. When I started, wetsuits were... I just didn't have very good kit. I bought, like, wetsuit from... Or my mum got me a wetsuit from, like, there was a shop called the Spotty Bag Shop. We used to sell this cheap stuff, and she got us a wetsuit that kids would have probably been using for, like, just jumping in or swimming in the sea a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like, a proper surfing suit, and I remember just being freezing in that, and then...
But you kept going.
Yeah, and then got a decent wetsuit from ESP, but then I suppose I outgrew that, and I got another one. And then it was like the Rip Curl Elastos came in, remember that?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
And it was like, I think it was a 4-3, and I tried to use it all for a couple of winters, and it was just so cold in that suit. I got a custom-made suit, actually, after that one, and just couldn't believe the difference. I couldn't believe how cold I'd been for the last 2 years.
Yes, I bet.
And, and then a bit later than that, I kind of got sponsored by all their wetsuits, and they've been keeping me warm ever since. It was actually one of the first suits I got from ESP. The first warm one was an Alder suit. There was definitely a period in between where I didn't have good suits, and it was hard and it was cold. And yeah, you soon realise in Scotland that the wetsuit's more important than any other bit of kit, really.
I bet, yeah, 100%. And then you ride a shortboard and a longboard, right?
Yeah, I do. I don't really longboard much, to be honest. I sometimes go for a little longboard in the...
Okay.
Yeah, I go for a little longboard in the summer sometimes. got a few Scottish longboard titles back in the day.
That's what I read. That's why I was asking.
There's a really, really good longboarder in Scotland. He's a slightly older gentleman called Malcolm Finlay, and he's dominated Scottish longboarding for a long time. But there was a few years that he didn't turn up, so I decided to enter.
That's so smart. Brilliant. How many guys were in the heats during these competitions? Was it you solo, or was there like a couple other guys?
Back in this time, I suppose there's a few. Yeah, there'd be like, I don't know, in the longboard division, you'd probably have 16, 20 guys or something.
Okay, cool.
4-man heats, yeah. And then
so you surfed a few heats.
Sometimes we've got, in the open, sometimes we've got 24 or 32-man draw.
That's pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about competition. You're progressing in your surfing. You're getting a little older. At what point do contests come into your headspace where you realize there's contests out there?
Kind of early-ish. Like I'd maybe been surfing a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, maybe a bit less than that, actually, because the first contest I ever did, actually, was in Thurso. My dad gave me a lift up to Thurso, and then he left me there with like a couple of guys I knew. As I say, like, didn't have the parents kind of mollycoddle me around the place, and
yeah.
it was just kind of nice to get a lift up there, actually. And then there was a contest at Thurso East, actually, and I just remember it being a glorious sunny day, and the waves were kind of really fun. I'd never been right before in my life. I could only go left, and there is a little bit of a left at Thurso East on a certain swell direction, but I'd never been right before, basically. So I just went left in this contest. I was the only junior in the contest, so I got all the junior prizes. And
that's
I just
awesome.
had a really good time, and just remember kind of thinking, I'm going to live here at the first opportunity, because the waves were just so fun, and yeah, I had a really good trip. So it was always on the cards. I was going to move up to Thurso.
Okay.
From that point, really. And then shortly after, there was just on the contest stuff, there was also Ian Masson, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. He used to organise some events in Fraserburgh that I'd try and get a lift through to as well, like if I could find a parent or a friend to take us through. Yeah, they were just kind of local club contests that he used to do in the winters. Yeah, that was kind of the first consistent experience I had competing, was going through a few of those comps.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of during a period where the Scottish Surfing Federation wasn't active at the time. So it wasn't until a few years after that the Scottish Surfing Federation started up again, and then we started running national championships again, and a couple other comps, inter-club comps and stuff like that. So that was it.
How many times are you national champ?
I won 3 open ones.
3 open?
And then, 3 open, 4 longboard, and 2 masters. I did the masters last couple of years.
Yes.
Last year I managed to win the masters and the open in the same year, which was kind of cool.
That's super cool.
I kind of maybe feel like I could have maybe had a couple other ones, but there was a year we lost because of COVID. I probably felt like I was at my peak about then.
Oh, okay.
And then a couple other close ones, quite a few other close ones really, where I've come second or whatever, but it's been fun, and it's good to see some of the kids are getting really good now as well. And this junior series that we've been running is really amazing to see some kids in Scotland surfing at a good level, so that's cool.
How did you learn to compete? Like, how did you get your heat strategy? Was it through trial and error?
A long process. I mean, we've basically had like one contest a year, like 1 or 2 contests a year. We'd have the national champs and then inter clubs, and you basically wait all year to have this one event. And I basically didn't have the head for competing, you know. There was a period where I started thinking, okay, I could definitely win this, you know, my like ability wise, like and there was years where I felt I should have been winning it, and I still wasn't. I think it was just me crumbling under pressure, really, and not being able to keep my head in the game. You know, I definitely suffer from getting jelly legs in finals when the pressure's on, and it's not keeping it together. Some people have got the mind for it, and I don't think I really did always. But so it was a real long process, and I think I definitely overcame some of that and managed to bag a few titles. Definitely didn't come quickly or naturally to me.
You became a coach.
We do a little bit with the juniors. There's actually the Scottish Surfing Federation actually just employed a part-time coach now, so things are developing, and in that side of things as well. I mean, I some other work with the Scottish Surfing Federation as well. Yeah, I mean, I do some coaching in the Maldives sometimes on some boat trips in the summers,
rad.
which is pretty fun. And yeah, obviously offer some coaching at the juniors where I can as well, the kids in Scotland and with the local club. Yeah, it's good to pass on what I've learned, and I've had a little bit of coaching over the years, but it all probably came way too late. Probably didn't really benefit from any of that until I was about 28 or nearly 30, pretty much. So it's pretty late in the day. I mean, it was just, we were all just making it up as we went along up until that point. But it's amazing to see what, the difference it makes, like technique wise and stuff. Like, obviously, I mean, you guys in California have this kind of stuff that's been going on for years, but
yeah,
something that came a little bit later in Scotland, and it's just seeing the progression of the juniors these days. It's really, I know, it's quite good to see. And,
totally rad. Yeah, I bet.
Gets me excited. So just seeing kids that are surfing with proper technique, and it's good to watch, So
are you guys encouraging the kids? Like how's the lineup?
There's a lot of lineups that are. I've been surfing a couple of times recently, and there's been more groms than adults in the water, which is amazing.
Amazing.
At Thurso East, there's a pretty tight pack of folk out at Thurso East, and there's not a lot of spare waves out there, so you don't see as many groms. I mean, it's quite a heavy wave anyway. It's not exactly grom friendly for kids at a lower level, but there's a few coming through, and they're getting a few waves, so it's good to see. There's a few more grom friendly waves around, and there's quite a few of them out there. So
okay,
definitely a lot more groms than there was back in my day. So
Scottish culture and the surfing culture there, how do they collide at all? Is the normal Scottish person recognizing surfing, or they have no clue about it?
Pretty much don't have a clue, I would say. I mean, surfing's getting a little bit more mainstream, I suppose. It's getting a little bit more popular. Maybe it's in a few people's more consciousness a little bit more now, but
okay.
In Thurso, it's quite popular, so people are used to seeing surfers. There's a few surfers live there, but in a lot of other parts, it's I mean, you get some funny looks getting in your wetsuit. People don't really know what's going on, but
that's funny.
Definitely don't think it's like perceived as cool by the general population. It's not like Australia, California, maybe, where people think it's a cool thing to do. People just kind of think you're weird.
I bet. Yeah, that's funny. The Olympics coming up. How's that, and how's Scotland doing?
So, like, Scotland's a real funny one, because, like, in lots of sports we'll compete as Scotland, and then in some sports you compete as GB.
Okay.
It depends on like how the governing bodies are set up.
Yeah.
Like Andy Murray, for example, Scotland's most successful, probably in more recent history, sportsman in tennis, and he had to represent GB. You don't actually get to represent Scotland in tennis, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then it gets really complicated in surfing, because we do represent ourselves as Scotland at world level and European level, but for Olympic qualification and the Olympics, it's got to be GB. So it makes it real complicated. You've got to get into the British team to get a chance to qualify. And obviously, it's really difficult to qualify as well, as you probably know. It's like there's not that many slots.
You guys have this pool of surfers, but you got to go into a bigger pool where there's more competition. Which, I mean,
yeah, kind of, yeah. I guess in Britain just now the focus is on getting there's some investment come into the British level. I guess the focus is getting some of the groms in the Olympics in. Not this one, but maybe in a couple of Olympics times or whatever, So that's kind of what they're focusing on.
Like a development team?
That kind of stuff, yeah. So there's a really good young surfer in Scotland just now, Craig. He's probably our best hope at the moment. There's a few younger ones below him that are showing great promise, and they're maybe like 12 kind of age group. So they're the guys that are they're putting the focus on that kind of age groups now. So it's exciting to see what the Scottish kids are going to do, because they're definitely like on par with what they're doing in other areas of the UK now. So
yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, nobody's back in my day. I mean, we were definite underdogs, and even in the UK surfing scene, in Scotland. So there used to be a thing called the UK Pro Surf Tour.
Oh, really?
And it was a good opportunity to compete a little bit as well at a
Yeah.
slightly higher level. So that's died out now, unfortunately. But they used to have a contest in Thurso as well. So I made the final of that once, and that was probably one of my biggest achievements, to be honest. I mean, obviously I got a bit of a home court advantage there,
That's
but
okay.
there were some really good surfers in that tour, like guys like Ruben Ash and Luke Dillon and Job Harris, and you've maybe heard some of those names, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was good times.
How do you describe that wave? Is it a heavy wave? It looks like a perfect right-hander barrel to me.
Got loads of different characters depending on
The swell
different
direction.
directions.
Yeah.
And different directions, different winds. Like, it's in a base, but it can be a really horrible place, like on a long period swell, because you sit and you wait for so long for like one wave sets, sometimes.
Yes.
So when it's crowded, it can definitely get quite, people get a bit impatient. And, there's not many waves and there can be a lot of people. So it can be frustrating in that sense, but it's got a lot of characters. It can break quite like a point break, or it can break quite like when it's straight on, it can go pretty hollow. So it works at different stages of the tide, and it's got different characters then as well. So although it's a right-hander, you get just a right-hander mostly. You get quite a lot to practice on a few different canvases.
Is that your favorite wave?
I pretty much live kind of on the beach that looks over to that wave, and that's where I surf the most. So
so you got to check. You check it every morning, pretty much?
Check it. Yeah, check every day. 3 times a day, 5 times a day. I can see it from my house. So
that's rad.
Always keeping an eye on it.
How's localism in Scotland? Are they open to international surfers, or are they kind of like hush hush?
I mean, we get a lot of international surfers. There's definitely a few traveling pros come through quite often, and there's a pretty tight crew that'll sit on the peak. And I mean, if people are respectful and friendly, they'll get waves.
Okay.
But if anyone's kind of acting out of line, then people aren't shy to tell them as well, So it's got a pretty good dynamic in the lineup, really.
Okay. But there's not like, you can't surf here kind of thing. As long as you're respectful. Well, we should be as guests.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's getting bricks through their windscreen or anything. Or paddling out with bits of their car on their board or anything like that.
Okay.
Not like any of the gnarly stories I've heard about California, but
I think those times are kind of mostly over. It still happens, I'm sure, but
no, it's pretty welcoming and friendly for the most part. As long as people are being respectful, as everyone should be when they go traveling anywhere else.
Right. You've traveled quite a bit too, so you've been in the situation where you're not at home.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got a new short film that came out, The Shortest Day.
Yeah, Lewis Arnold put together, and he filmed a bit of, and most of the film was done by Malcolm Anderson, who's a good friend that comes down and shoots a lot from the reef. So we got a few good clips. Lewis has put them together, and it's up playing on carvemag.com just now. If anyone wants to have a look. So
yeah,
a few waves from home, a few little lefts and a few little rights, and gives you a little bit of a taste of what it's like surfing where I live.
The waves are epic. I mean, I'm jealous of what you're surfing. How long did it take to put that edit together?
It's probably filmed for most of the winter last winter. So Malcolm's down there filming a lot. He'll come with me when we go check a few spots out. So he films quite a lot. It's a few months worth of clips, I guess.
Man, you guys got good waves. You really it just looks really chilly. Honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is a bit.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes too, so everyone can link on to watch that film. You've had a couple other films you've been in, like a little edits you've been into, right? So this is not your first film with you.
Yeah, I did something similar with Lewis and Malcolm.
Okay.
Again, last year it played at the London Surf Film Festival, just like in the shorties section. So it was just a little edit similar to this one. Malcolm just gets such good clips that it seems a shame not to do something good with him. And Lewis is pro filmmaker, so he's offered to put it together the last couple of years and keeps the wetsuit sponsors happy. So
it's well done. I mean, it's a really epic movie.
Thank you.
Completely jealous, I'll be honest. You're scoring.
The boys will be stoked.
You're a taller guy. Are you 6'4"?
I am, yeah.
Jeez. How does that help, or is that a disadvantage in surfing?
I think, well, statistically speaking, I mean, if you look at the WSL, you'll see most of them are pretty short. There's a couple of anomalies on there. You know, Geordie, I guess, was the
he's kind of big.
tallest.
Yeah.
I think he's 6'3" maybe, and you know, Owen, when he was on tour, I think he was 6'3" as well. So I kind of looked at those guys to see like what, you know, like when I was trying to figure out what boards I should be riding.
Yes.
It was quite hard to get off the shelf boards, you know, for someone my size and weight. So
Oh yeah.
it was actually when Geordie Smith came to Scotland for the QS. Someone got a hold of one of his old boards, and then I managed to get a hold of it. I basically had to beg for this board because I just wanted Geordie's board because I knew he was a real similar weight and height to me. So I got that board and then managed to just base everything I've had since off that one.
Was that a game changer? Did that change your surfing?
Yeah, a little bit. It just kind of gave me a bit of confidence in what I should be riding because I was kind of guessing before that. There's not really any shapers locally. There's a shaper down in Edinburgh, adjacent in Scotland, but there's not really any shapers locally. And I mean, I've always got my board from abroad, really, or previous to that. I mean, I get my boards from the Pukas factory, the Lost boards from the Pukas factory in Spain, in the Basque Country now. But previous to that, you know, I was just kind of getting boards from here, there, and everywhere. And before that time, I didn't really know what I was supposed to be riding. So it was a bit of a process as well. Like, I guess all these things are, but I mean, there's so much more accessibility to this kind of information for the kids and stuff now, and with the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot more knowledge in Scotland and a lot more help for knowledge to be passed down, and people can get right equipment quicker. And yeah, it's good.
Do you know of anybody that's stepping into that gap of being interested in shaping there or learning the process? Besides the one guy?
Yeah, Jason and Martin, they're down in Edinburgh way, but I think my friend Scotty tried to shape a couple of boards in his shed this summer, maybe.
Okay.
There's nobody like that's kind of really committed and gone abroad and learned a trade, and not
interesting
where I live anyway. So, I mean, it'd be pretty cool if somebody got to a good level doing it in Scotland. It's probably something that would help develop things even more, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's coming. It's just going to grow.
Yeah.
How much has surfing grown from being out by yourself to now there's some crowds and a little eggy?
If you look at it like that, like I've been back visiting the beach I learned to surf on a few times on a couple of little swells in the last like few months, and when I've been there, you know, it's gone from being out there alone to there being like there's a surf school there now, and
wow.
Like, you know, there can be, I mean, with the surf school in the water, there's, I don't know, I suppose there's 10, 20, and then there's the guys at the back, so 30, you know, 40, 50 people in the water now, you know, where there used to just be me, maybe a couple boaters.
Wow.
In Thurso, I suppose there's always been a bit of a crew there, but since I've been surfing, and but yes, I suppose like there's a few more travellers these days, and it gets kind of, I mean, it gets packed out, but on occasion.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Did you ever think it would get that crowded when you're 14-year-old Mark? It's not even anything I used to think about, to be honest. You know, I didn't even think, this is going to change one day, you know, but I suppose the more you travel and you see what's happening, and just surfing in general is getting more popular, I think. So it doesn't matter where you go, it's getting busier. And if anything, I would say Thurso's maybe on the grand scheme of things, like, you know, everyone's always complaining, it's getting busier now, it's getting busier, but I've been to beaches that I've visited 10 years apart in other parts of the world, and it's just like, you can't even comprehend how much busier it's got. In that sense, we're maybe lucky. At what point did you finally make a surfing buddy, like someone you could drive off each other, like, let's go surf? Because it sounds like you were pretty solo for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to university, probably. You know, so I'm 17 by this point.
Yeah.
So I went to uni, and then I made a couple of good friends at university, and we used to go on strike missions all over the place.
Oh, that's cool.
That was good fun. And I was like, when I was a little bit younger, you know, you meet a couple of the kids your same age at some of the comps as well. So we're all pushing each other when we'd see each other at the comps and stuff.
Yeah.
You'd be gauging yourself against them and trying to improve. But no, definitely when I went to uni, then a couple of guys that, you know, a South African friend, a Brazilian friend, that had come over to Scotland to study, and they surf better than I did, so that really pushed me a lot surfing with those guys.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, 100%. How often is it warm there? Is it like 80% rainy and kind of cold, or what's the weather?
We've had a really nice summer, but obviously we don't get much surf in the summer, unfortunately.
Okay.
And then, I mean, yeah, it's pretty miserable a lot of the time. It's pretty wet and windy, and in winter it's freezing.
Okay.
I mean, it makes you appreciate the nice days, when the sun's out.
Yeah.
We're pretty lucky as surf. Like, we get real short daylight hours, and obviously it's snowing and it's dark and it's raining and it's windy, but I think it just keeps your happiness levels up because we just spend so much time outside as surfers, so you're getting the UV,
Yes.
I think a lot of people in Scotland, it gets pretty miserable, like the weather is rubbish, and you can't blame anyone for hiding themselves inside, and people aren't getting out and being active. Scotland's unfortunately got a really high level of obesity and heart disease, and it's quite an unhealthy country, really, and alcoholism, and
Wow.
and I mean, you can't really blame people. I mean, it's kind of the easy thing to do, and it's not inviting to get outside in bad weather and go and be active. But I mean, surfing kind of forces us to do that.
Yeah.
We're all addicted to surfing, and that's why we're doing it. And you get the benefits of it, just getting daylight on your face, especially if the waves are pumping.
Yeah. No kidding. I mean, going back to the shortest day, it looks like a lot of offshore days, a lot of offshore barrels.
I suppose that's the good ones that's been kept in the film. I mean, that's not showing a lot of the onshore muck that we surf a lot of the time.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But it's cold, but if it's offshore and you're getting a barrel, that's rad.
Yeah. With the way the weather patterns work, when it's offshore and like nicer winds, we tend to get nicer weather at the same time. So
okay.
I guess it always, in the good clips, it always looks like it's sunny. Yeah, pretty horrible patches of weather in between good moments. But
how do you juggle your personal life and surfing? Is life based around swell and wind and tide?
Well, yeah, it always has been, and I work offshore as well as doing a bit of work for the Scottish Surfing Federation, but I have done since I graduated uni. So I used to spend long periods of time. I do a bit less now. I used to spend long periods of time at sea.
Wow.
On survey boats. So it was kind of hard, and then I would just be like 100% committed to just surfing as much as I could when I was home from work.
Yeah.
But I've got a son now, a 16-month-old son.
Oh, congrats.
Unfortunately, me and his mum aren't together. He's actually a 4-hour drive away, so I've been spending a lot of time on the road this last year trying to see him as much as I can. It's not always as easy now getting to surf on every swell. It's like you don't want to miss swells when you can't.
Yeah. Have you had any injuries, or you've been staying pretty healthy?
Been pretty lucky for the most part. I'd had a couple of little ones. I knocked myself out once.
Yeah, I read that.
Broke my nose. I kind of got stabbed in the groin with the nose of my board once as well, and got a few stitches. But other than that, I've not broken any bones, touch wood. That's been too heavy, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not sending it hard enough. That could be the reason.
That's funny. No, you're ripping. I would disagree. The videos show that you're ripping. And then, do you watch pro surfing?
I've watched a lot of it. I'm watching a little bit less since the wee man came along, just because I feel like I'm driving constantly as well, just up and down that road. But that kind of been eating into my time. But just for sitting watching the surfing as much as I did, but yeah, I love it. I watch every last drop of it if I can.
Okay.
It's just so good when the contests are on to have it on in the background. You can kind of just
pick.
You don't need to be fixed at it. You can kind of be doing other stuff, 100%. And then you kind of hear the commentary, and then there's a good wave comes on, but you can watch it. But I'm not sold on the final 5 format.
Okay.
It's I just feel it's a bit of an injustice, Carissa not getting the last 2 world titles, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, as much as I like watching the final day, I think it's exciting. It's obviously great, but I just don't think you can artificially recreate the excitement that you get when it used to be like Andy and Kelly at Pipe to decide the title, or like that's what made it so special, is the fact that it doesn't happen every year.
Yes,
and
I see that.
I just think those moments are kind of they've been taken away. And the whole purpose of a tour is to decide the best surfer over all the different conditions. And at the end of the year, I'm just not sold on a 1-day event.
At
Like, what's
lowers?
the point of the tour? Yeah, I mean, you might as well just call the ISA World Games the Pro World title and just get rid of the tour if that's what you're going to do, you know?
Okay.
It just seems like, what's the point of having a 1-day event to decide a tour winner? Doesn't make sense, but
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I would like the format personally. Not that it matters what I think, but I do like it now, kind of. It is exciting. And there was plenty of years, ASP and WSL years, where someone already had the title two contests before the season was over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's just the way it was, and they deserved it, you know?
That's 100% true. They did deserve it.
They couldn't do what Carissa's done and deserved it, and then got stolen from her because she doesn't perform in one wave, 1 day, you know? And it's kind of...
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I just find that pretty hard. Got to be a hard pill to swallow for her.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, no, 100%. Good commentary on that. I like. What about wave pools? You've spent some time in. Do you love them?
I love them. I can't get enough of them. I absolutely love it. I like
Why?
Because I hate sand. I hate salt. I hate I hate driving around looking for waves.
Okay.
I just think they're better than surfing in the sea 90% of the time. Like, obviously it's never going to be as good as the sea on a good day. But or again, never know. It actually might become as good as the sea on a good day. But
yeah,
you know, there's all those surfs in between the good surfs. Wave pools generally are better than those surfs, and it's like they're really fun, and you know what you're getting, and it's never going to be the sea. But it's, for somebody who just wants to go and practice, or what a tool, they're amazing. There's actually one getting built in Edinburgh in 2024, so
nice.
That's pretty exciting. Yeah, really exciting.
So, do you think it's helping the Scottish competitive surfer? Yeah, our wave pools.
It will when this one in Edinburgh gets built for sure.
Where's the closest one? Wales?
Yeah, but they're just closing it down. There's one in Bristol, so most of the Groms tend to go down there once a year, you know, on family trips and things like that. So, and if I've been down in Cornwall competing, I'll stop in, or it's real close to the main motorway if you're going to Cornwall. So, yeah, it's definitely somewhere to stop off at, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I've been to the one in Switzerland as well, which was really good.
Oh, yeah.
It was better than the Bristol one, and I believe Edinburgh's going to be better again. You know, it's going to have more, I don't know what they're called, modules or pumps or whatever. And it's going to be slightly bigger. And so, yeah, just amazing and exciting times for Scottish surfing, really. And just the air section technology that it looks like they've got. I don't know if you've seen that footage of Leo Fioravanti trying the air section and the new... I can't even remember which one it was. Was it Switzerland, maybe?
No, I did not.
But,
I missed
and
it.
there's some footage at Korea or the other one as well. It's pretty exciting to have that kind of repetition on an air section, you know?
Yeah.
I'd love to try and surf the Waco one as well. That'd be really cool.
Do you think that you can learn and excel in surfing, learning from the wave pool, and then go into the ocean? Do you think it translates?
Yes. You're not going to learn how the ocean works, obviously, that aspect, which I think is super important in competition, you know, wave selection.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that part's always going to have to be learned. So the more time you spend in a wave pool and not in the ocean, I guess it's time lost in that aspect. For kids that are going to, you know, there's kids that are going to start surfing and this is going to be the norm. So
yeah,
it's something maybe to take note on, you know. It's like, the more time, I suppose it's got to be there just to supplement real surfing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
from a competitive and learning standpoint.
Okay.
For technique and stuff, it's going to be incredible.
Yes. And then the last question: do you prefer to surf frontside or backside?
I always try and surf frontside when you're speaking about wave pools. Like I always go left at the wave pool. I go right so much at home. So
okay.
I mean, I definitely try and balance it out a little bit, but my forehand definitely gets pretty weak sometimes just because I'm going backside so much.
Yeah.
It takes me a bit of time to get used to a left-hander again, but try and get that opportunity as much as I can. And when I go travel, I do try and go to left-handers if I can as well.
Yeah. With the Olympics going to Chopu, have you surfed that wave?
I haven't actually, but I'd really like to surf Chopu. It looks pretty nice on the. I don't know what the swell direction is, but there's certain swell direction at a certain size that it looks quite manageable.
Really?
I
Okay.
would say.
Inviting even?
Yeah, it does. I think it looks really fun, but I suppose it's very crowded these days. So I don't know if it would be my first choice. I spent a bit of time in New Zealand. Quite a few years ago, and because you're a bit closer to some of those Pacific islands, so I had the chance, and I was gonna go to Chopes. I basically had the choice. I had like a week or two free, and I had the choice whether to go to Fiji or Tahiti, and I ended up going to Fiji and surfing Cloudbreak.
How was that?
It was really good. Yeah, it was good. It was quite wind exposed. I didn't really. We got like a couple of really good days. One really big, good day, and then one kind of smaller, windy day. I got some real good tubes, but it wasn't like mega clean. It was just like quite windy a lot, and obviously I needed to get the boat out there and sound like I'm complaining. Yeah, I had a great time. It was good. I enjoyed it. And I got a really good big barrel there, and it was really cool to tick off such a famous spot, and I enjoyed it.
Right on.
But getting back to you were speaking about the traveling before,
yes,
and just speaking about traveling, surfing other breaks, and like I spent a bit of time surfing Cochos in Portugal, with it's a localized right-hander as well, and just when go surf those places, I just feel like you take the scraps, don't you, and you let the locals. They're just doing that on a daily basis, so you've just kind of got to understand what their kind of hierarchies do and take things underneath them, and it kind of works out as well. I think for the traveling surfer, if you're paying attention to those things, you can kind of like get those waves that are the 3/4 size ones that the guys at the back don't want, and it's kind of nice to be that guy. Sometimes just like when you're traveling and just hunting around the inside and picking off everything that you can get off the locals. It's kind of nice for a change.
It is. Do you like shredding the wetsuit when you're going to some of the warmer destinations, or do you prefer wearing a wetsuit?
I love not having a wetsuit on. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I hate the rash.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I get so rashed on my belly, my armpits, and that's like a total negative for me. But it's really good if you've got enough time to like build up the calluses and like stay there for a while. But I just find I'm never on a trip. I think you need like 6 weeks for that to happen. Or something. Yeah. And I just feel like I always just feel like I'm stinging on these trips. But no, I do love surfing in a wetsuit. I've kind of sorry, without a wetsuit on, but I've just started trying to like listen to my skin, and as soon as I start getting a bit of the rash, try not to power through and surfing for another 3 hours, because it can kind of ruin your trip, if you end up,
you're too heavy, too much.
If you get too rash too quickly, but it's difficult to pace yourself when you're in the tropics and it's pumping, and
100%.
You don't need to put a wetsuit on. But sometimes I travel with like a thin neoprene thing. Just if I do start feeling it, I'll put that on and try and prevent the rash happening a little bit. But wetsuits are nice for a bit of protection. I really like surfing in booties, to be honest.
Oh, do you?
I do, yeah. I'm just so used, and it takes me a little bit of time to get used to not surfing in them whenever I go somewhere. It's not so bad in the tropics, but I find it quite tricky. And like, if I go to like mainland Europe and you go to Portugal or places like that, and it's kind of that borderline temperature sometimes. In Portugal, you kind of feel like you don't need booties, but my feet feel just a little bit cold, and I don't really feel like I'm grippy.
Yeah, a lot has to do with the grip, right?
Yeah, definitely. And confidence thing, a mental thing, I'm not sure, but I definitely feel like I'm a bit more solid on my board when I've got boots on.
100%.
And I know a lot of the boys feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, we wear them here in California, but honestly, I wear just the back foot one. I only put one on.
Yeah. I was in Lanzarote one quite a few years ago, and the Gdauskas brothers were right there, and they were all wearing booties as well, and you didn't need them there, but obviously they're from slightly colder water, so must have felt like they preferred them as well or something.
Yeah, you're the reigning Scottish national champ too, right?
I'm not actually. Young lad Craig McLachlan took the title last time. I won the Masters.
Okay, so you're
I got second.
Okay, so you're still the Scottish Masters national champ.
I am, and I'll be training hard and giving Craig a run for his money again this year.
Okay, cool. How old's Craig?
He's he's 18 now.
Oh, so I mean, there's a big.
Yeah.
You're double his age, pretty almost.
I'm double his age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that feel that you're competing against these young guys? Do you like
amazing,
giving it to them?
Yeah, it's actually really good. I feel like we've went back and forth a couple of times.
That's
now,
good.
So it's getting pretty bit of a rivalry there, and I need to step my game up. I need to train harder.
Dude, that's such a big deal. Like to, compete with the young guys and you keeping it fresh and ripping just as hard. So that's excellent. Good job on that.
Cheers.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So this is Mike and Mark Boyd, and we are out of here. Thank you.
100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You boo on my didgeridoo. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. She grabbing a hold of my leggy. They jelly, they Gucci my weddy. The fridge is Giuseppe, the chain is so heavy, she think that I'm charging the Eddie. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. Surf trap, I'm stacking that money. Cash. More shorts, a red Ferrari. He starts to calling me Dundee. Diamonds a surfing McFlurry. She want me to teach her to surf. Splash. I'm pulling up, ripping the verse. I'm leaving these kooks in the hearse. They get moved 100 foot on their head, they get work. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop.
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.